Yeah, it's perfect. It's talking, it's windy time too, right? So I'm listening there too. Yeah, get rid of everything. Get rid of the synth. I agree with you 100%. 100%. Yeah.
There ain't no stopping us now from the way we wanna live. Let's just figure this out.
Just figure this out.
Every time I hear that country song, I'm thinking about the good times that we had alone. I don't know what my life is, but it sure means a good time now. Singing it up and grooving it down, singing songs that make your love go round and round. This what life is all about, 'cause it sure means a good time now.
He comes in a little late, but he can add that. Unless you want to do another one.
Can we do another take?
Yeah.
I'm really awful now for whatever reasons. Getting melodic for whatever reasons.
Cool. I'm just gonna have a listen to this take here now myself, but I think you're good.
When I was 13, I got my first guitar, and that, for me it was a lessons thing. My best friend at the time had gotten a guitar. He was doing lessons. I had some music in me before that. I can't really recollect a lot of it, but my family were big, players and singers, and more or less a family sing-along type group that always sang together when we got around in parties and whatever else. My uncle had an old psalm book that he gave me, and we all had copies of it, and he kind of made it years ago, and it was all full of country and western music. And I keep going back to my uncle Danny. He taught me the basics to start learning and playing chords, and it really came natural to me. I can't explain it any other way than that. I mean, I could at that age, progressing into the years, 15, 16 years old, I could listen to a song once or twice and know the chord structure and how it went, and know all the lyrics for the most part. It was, it was just came natural to me.
I think probably one of my earliest memories of Justin playing music is at a house party with a bunch of people drinking beer, everyone singing. I think that's definitely one of the earlier memories.
I can still see men in the morning sail away.
I feel like one day I didn't know that he could sing and play, and then the next thing I'm like, whoa, and like just effortlessly good. Some people are just talented in that way, where when you see them or hear them play, it's just so easy and natural. I kind of like envy that in some people, that because I've sang in my life and it was not easy. It's not easy, I think he just has his natural way about it, and I think that's kind of what stood out the most.
2008, I went to Canadian Idol. I came back with a vision. I came back motivated. I was young. I started really in the live entertainment scene and never really got out of it until I went back to school.
Looking back on it now, I think I just really wanted him to be successful in that. Like everybody in Newfoundland, you really support your own in that sense, but there was that kind of personal aspect that you're like, oh, please. And now I kind of directly relate to that, so that's definitely cool that we both kind of had somewhat of that type of experience.
I think maturing as an artist in the downtown scene, in the George Street live entertainment scene. I played a lot of years down there. I learned a lot of music. I had influences on country and western. and a lot of traditional music. I mean, the Great Foggy Days and, Saltwater Joys. You're downtown and you're trying to get by on a night, so you learn new music. I heard a lot of that traditional music downtown. It wasn't until later years when we formed Eastern Passage when I really got a good interest in traditional and folk music and singing songs like the Connemara's and the Irish Descendants were playing. So I was a lot of years trying to find my niche and where I belonged musically. My dad comes off as a stern individual, businessman kind of deal, but he has, he has certain beliefs that he intertwined in us growing up. And I look back to when I was gigging 6-7 days a week downtown. I mean, he was hard on me. He didn't want me to live that life. He wanted me to go get an education, start with the education, and fall back on the music if that was something that I wanted to do down the road. Let life happen. There was a lot of years where I felt like I had to be obligated to do something else with my life. I mean, I was doing what I loved. Don't get me wrong, I was playing music, but I had to go back. I had to kind of prove to him that I really wanted to go back and really do something in my life, get a career, start a family, and I did all of that, and it all progressed. And I credit him for that. I credit him for everything that he's told me in life, and I sat back and watched a lot and listened to a lot. Now there were obviously points in my life where I didn't ever think about recording a record. Halfway through that, it was always something that I looked at in the earlier years, and I kind of got away from it because life took over. I had Kaylee, she's 7 now, so that was 7 years ago, and really focusing on her. And her growing up and my career, my job, I still played a scattered gig here and there, and I played a lot of gigs actually, over the years while I was working in oil and gas, and I didn't really put that extra effort in. There was a point in time where it was just status quo. I'm working for a living. I got a good career. I'm just going to gig music. I'm going to sing covers for the rest of my life. There was a point in my life where I said that. A couple of years ago, I ran into some music from a local guy by the name of Greg Bolger. And I was really, really intrigued by the production of what he was doing. So I just had assumed that he was, he's from Nashville. He went down to Nashville and recorded the record because this stuff sounded very, very good. So I looked up who recorded the record. It was 7 View Studios. So I go to their website, and their website looks, just as professional as something down in Nashville or down in, so I just assumed his studio. I didn't really get the details on it. So I called Greg. Actually, I messaged him one day, and I asked Greg where he recorded the music, and he said 7 View Studios. And I said, yeah, I looked up the studio. I said, where is it? And he said, Springdale, Newfoundland. So I called up this guy, Clint, and I introduced myself, and I said I might be interested in a project later on in the year. What's his thoughts? And he asked me what genre and if he could hear a sample of my music, and I sent him, I think, an early version of Long Time Comin'. And it progressed from there. He was really happy, really, really excited about the song. He loved the songs, thought he could do something with it. So fast forward to December, he sends me the first mix. I was just astonished at the production. I was very... The biggest thing for me that I noticed was my vocal and how clean and produced, and it wasn't overproduced. It was very, very clean, very, very commercial sounding. And the music around it, obviously, it matters in the mix as well. I came here in this studio, in Jason's studio, and recorded the vocals here and sent it off to him. I didn't really know how it was all going to come together.
I got a text from Justin one day, and duty around, are you there? And I said, just finishing up work, was on the go. I need to get a vocal recorded. And I said, yeah, okay, let me know what time, sometime. Well, what's your time frame? Now. I said, now, like this week, today? No, like now, I could be there in 10 minutes. So what's going on? He said, I'm at another place. We can't get in there. I need to get this done like today. It's not going to happen. I can't get in there. Can I come do it? It's like, yeah, well, I need a backing track. No problem. Backing track's on his way to you. By the time I get to your house, you'll have backing track. So boom, 5 o'clock he was here, and we got the first one done. That was probably 6 or 7 months ago. And after the first one worked out pretty well, we kind of figured out what mics, what pre's, what worked, kind of did the groundwork. And he was happy, and we came back, and, there was another one, and another two, and another three. So, yeah, that's how it happened.
It was amazing to get that first mix and that first song back, and it really, really motivated me, to finish the rest of this project.
Time and time I write that song, try to better my life and fix what's wrong. It's been a long time coming around. It's been a long time coming around.
Clint is an unbelievable guy. He's just a great person and extremely talented. This man, he produced the music. Basically, the process started. I mean, I sent him a scratch of me singing the songs and arrangement that I had in my head, and he came back, and there was never a time where I turned down a mix that he had in his head that I didn't like. So it was a process, and at the time when COVID hit and everything else, we had to be very strategic on what we wanted and how we were going to approach doing this. We done every ounce of this record remotely, every ounce of it.
That's the new reality, is interoperability. I mean, people don't need to do everything in one place, but sometimes you just can't with COVID and travel restrictions and the bubble, the bubble we had here. So it's a reality. Sometimes you might want to work with other people. Sometimes you have to work with other people, or it can be a combination. And in this case, Clint had rock solid mixes ready to go. Everything was sort of given to me on a platter. So just import the files and get a vocal going. We do some takes, make some notes, do some warm ups, get the ones you're happy with, then kind of fine tune them and give Clint a bunch of options. Say here, we think it's the last 3 or 4 takes here are good. Here's 8 or 10 takes, but probably the last 2 or 3, like typically, when you're warmed up. And then, here's the files. Use your own discretion, and there you go. And Clint worked his magic, and that's what you get.
Kaylee's not referenced in that video, but in that song, sorry, but in the video, obviously she's a big part of the video, and I wanted to put her center stage there because she motivates me every single day. I think from a young age she sang and listened to me play guitar, and she was a big part of this project for me. As a music video can be quite exhausting, especially for a young child that can't sit still for more than 30 seconds. So I'm recording the video, so obviously had to play it several times, and kind of lip sync the song or sing the song several times to get the footage that you want to get in different angles and everything else. So we're trying to motivate Kaylee. Kaylee's getting sick of it. Give her a strum right up.
You know what strum means?
Right up.
Strum means that. Oh,
You
it's
gotta
like,
keep
oh.
fingers on it.
I can't.
You gotta keep fingers
I
on it.
can't do that.
How come?
It's too hard.
Oh, you got it, are you? Oh, very good. So I suggested Justin Bieber. So Justin Bieber comes on, and she's motivated, and she's running around, she's dancing, she's going around in circles. We're getting all the great footage that we need. And that was the end of it. Most of that footage from that video, from her twirling around and doing her thing with me, was actually Justin Bieber's music. So we got to credit Mr. Bieber for that, for sure. I didn't really listen to a lot of modern country music. Yeah, I went through motions, where I'd wake up in the morning, and my alarm clock would be a country song on the radio. I mean, I was listening to Kicks Country at the time. I listened to a couple other big radio stations in Alberta and those places, just to get a feel of what was on the radio these days. And I really buried myself in that for a long time. I found the songwriting process was easier for me in the mornings than in the evenings. I don't know why that is or what it was. I guess a fresh mind, waking up and you're on reset mode. All the songs that I wrote for the album were all from the heart, very emotional songs for me. And again, going back to the fact that, I grew confidence throughout this process with Clint. Because I knew he was going to deliver on exactly what I wanted to portray from a production standpoint, and to get the lyrics across the way that I wanted to get them across.
There's nothing out of place. Everything is in there. Everything has a place in the arrangement. Justin has a pretty good vocal ability, so he's able to sit on top of busy mix. He knows when to come in, when to pull out. But he knew where spaces were there intentionally. We didn't sing over them, so there's a little bit of production stuff we did to make sure that we didn't superimpose a busy vocal in an arrangement that's basically already been crafted. So we tried to fit the vocal in on top of it where necessary, but otherwise the things just fell into place pretty well. And we did alternate versions just in case. Here's what I think I'm going to do, but just for a laugh. Well, you got the good ones. Let's try something high. Let's try something talky. Let's try something where you trail off. Let's try something a bit raspy and grumbly. If you don't use them, you don't use them. But there's alternate stuff there for you to use. So no, it all fell in place pretty easily.
A lot of the songs on the record, focus on past relationships and experiences I went through. And one of the strongest songs I had thought, that I had written for this album is "Think About You," and "Think About You" is about a past relationship. You get to a point where the breakup happens, and you just you continue to think about each other. It was really a grown up breakup, and that it's a sad song in certain points of the song, but it's also, I guess, a happy song to an extent because you had moved on and you're moving on to greater things and better things. And I think we did a great job with that, with the video and the contrast between, me kind of thinking about her and she doing her own thing on the other side of things. Sam Pico, where do we start? Yeah, she's a gem of a human, a very unique human, to be honest. I love her to pieces. I met Sam at a young age, obviously going to school and growing up in the same community. I hung out with some of her best friends and her as well, growing up.
I was like, I need to be in your music video, or I don't know, I think I was like, I need to do it, or he was like, obviously, or something like that, or it was very organic, it was very genuine, it was kind of like an obvious, like, oh yeah, like, we should totally do that. I feel like Justin and I both have an outgoing personality that people are drawn to a certain extent. So, and him and I have been friends for such a long time. It's definitely over 10 years, and I've known him. You just have that familiar sense with somebody. So, on top of that, we both are outgoing and charismatic people. So adding that all together makes for really good chemistry on camera, and then that translates well into the video. I remember trying coffee for the first time. That was something I will never forget.
Another sip of coffee?
She didn't want to. I say that's like their bar. Oh, their team.
It'll be my first sip of coffee.
Are you
Ever.
Just fake it.
Capture that. We gotta capture our first sip of coffee.
Just fake it. Oh my gosh, she's gonna do it. I'm gonna have to smoke.
Okay.
Wait.
Don't choke on it.
Oh my god. Oh,
Okay.
How do people do that? Don't know how you do it. But I also really just loved the team aspect. We were all like, I remember in the hallway when we were using the reflection, I don't know what we were doing. Justin was like just so hands-on, using the lights. Like we were all just such big parts of that video that makes it extra special. Like, you could just tell that the energy was really, it was all moving in the same direction, and that's special.
Sure Beats a Good Time is the next narrative to the story for Think About You. It involves, I guess, a lost love, and we'll say in a past relationship or whatever else. But it just talks about when we were together. All I wanted to really do was hang out with her, and the partying scene was over for me, and nothing was more important to me than spending time with her. So we wanted to contrast the party life, with actually, meeting someone that kind of puts life in perspective, and settling down and maturing with someone.
Can you guys look towards me, like almost like you're leaning on the rail, like kind of looking at the vehicles?
Cool.
Look at that sweet ride.
That's actually some good light. I really started thinking, there's a story to all these songs. Why don't we connect the story, and why don't we use Sam in these videos to do it? I mean, it was a great idea to do the first one. Why not do the second one? Is she interested in doing a third one? I was extremely happy with Think About You. So was she. So yeah, fast forward to Sure Beats a Good Time, and she wants to get involved again. So I'm like, yes, absolutely, let's do it.
So we went, and I actually know Sean, who had the beautiful car, and I'd be embarrassed to say what it is and what year and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not even going to try.
64 Impala. She didn't know the name of it, I do.
But it was such a stunning vehicle, and I really feel like it elevated the video to where it needed to be. And I feel like Justin just made like a connection, and Sean was happy to have the car be part of the video. Oh, not this one, no. I mean, this one. Wow.
So we get in the car, we get to Kilbride, and we're kind of waiting on the setup, and she looks at me and she says, "My God," she said, "I think this is going to be masterful. I think this is going to be very good. The lighting, everything is good. The car is unbelievable." And that really motivated me, to be honest, and we got some really, really good shots for the video there, and we ended up being down the tops of the beach with all of our friends after, and that's the kind of thing, it's really what I wanted to portray, because a lot of my nights I spent around campfires entertaining and singing my ass off, basically.
Every time I hear that country song, I'm thinking about the good times that we had alone.
So Sure Beats a Good Time, I think, is a great gathering song. I think it's good for any kind of friend gathering or any type of situation. I think it's really fitting. I think it's catchy. I think it's just, I don't know, it feels good to listen to. It's a feel good, listen to it song. Does that even make sense? Was that even a word? It's just a good song, okay?
We actually had decided that the album was going to be called Long Time Coming. It's been a long time coming for me. I've spent a lot of time gigging and just not really getting around to doing a record. I always wanted to do a record. And we made a change in that approach with Sure Beats a Good Time. When that was recorded, we made a decision to make that the album, kind of, the title track for the album. So it took me a bit to kind of get off the fact that, it's been a long time coming for me, but yeah, where it was, we released that back in January, so it was kind of come and gone. So we wanted a fresh approach, and obviously, Sure Beats a Good Time, the title track of the album. Let's start it off with a bang. It was hard for me to write these songs in the beginning, but it was also hard to share it with the world, and convince myself that these songs were worth sharing with the world. And I think my peers and musicians and friends motivated me to a point where I knew there was maybe a chance that this music could make it somewhere or get on country radio.
First impressions are everything. I think there's a lot of people that want to be doing probably what you're doing, so make a lasting impression on somebody. Be memorable. I think that's important. I think Justin's memorable for sure. And then some. He's some other things too, but I won't say here.
'Cause it sure beats a good time now.
There's certainly a fairly slick commercial pop country or modern country production aesthetic to it, and that comes from, I guess, the songs, the arrangements, the work that Clint did with it.
I was super excited with the result, and I'm hoping people feel the same way when the album comes out.